Hey class! Tonight we're looking at another type of livestock that we have here on the farm. These are Dorset sheep. Dorset are a really common breed of sheep for grazing. They're a smaller framed sheep that do really well on pasture. So we do have these sheep to graze around parts of our farm that we don't like to mow, like under our apple trees and other places that are small, easy to fence in, but hard to mow. It's a great way to utilize grass and also, again, have another product that you can use to diversify and have to sell at a market. These, again, are Dorsets. There are lots of different breeds of sheep. If you are observing some of the sheep, like that one there in the back, these sheep have not had their tails docked. A lot of sheep that you see have their tails docked so you don't even really notice that they have a tail, but this is what a sheep looks like if their tails are not docked. For the ewes that we keep, so we have them from year to year, we do dock tails. It does help keep the animals much more clean than animals who have their tails. But these are all of our market lambs. These guys aren't going to be around very much longer. They'll be on somebody's dinner plate here soon. Sorry, buddy. But since we're not keeping them very long and we don't have a huge flock, we don't band their tails unless it becomes an issue. We do castrate the sheep. I won't show you that tonight, but I am going to show you how to shear a sheep. Our good friend Darren comes over to shear our sheep. It is a difficult process. It might become a silent video depending on how it's going, but I want you to see how a sheep is shorn. They really should be shorn before they're put out on pasture in the spring. Their wool will catch all kinds of seed and insect eggs if it's long, like what you're seeing here. So that creates a lot of problems if you don't shear your sheep before they're out on pasture. I do want to point out as well, there are two types of sheep. Most people don't know that, but there are wool sheep, like what you're seeing here. You see a picture of a cute little fuzzy lamb. That's what you're seeing is a wool sheep. But there are also hair sheep that they look a little different. They look almost like a goat. And they get a really fine hair and they shed like a dog, so you don't have to shear them. People are raising them more and more nowadays because of that. They don't need to be shorn and they're a little bit easier that way. But two different types of sheep. So I'm going to come over to the shearing section and show you what it looks like to shear a sheep. So this is Darren shearing one of our ewes. Typically you start with the belly and you work your way down. You get to both of the sides and then you do the back and then finally end with the head. A person who does this for a living can shear a sheep very quickly, under 2 minutes. But for the rest of us who don't do this very often, it does take between 10 and 30 minutes to shear a sheep. It is, like I said, difficult. If you have a small flock of sheep, the wool really isn't all that valuable. They do have what are called wool pulls in Pennsylvania, where you can bag up your wool. Those are bags of wool over there. And you can take them to the wool pull and sell them, but you're going to get about 10 cents a pound for wool, which adds up to nothing. So you spend more in gas getting your wool there than you make selling your wool. We use our wool, most of it goes into compost, and we just use it to, it breaks down and it becomes nutrients for the garden. I have seen people with small flocks of sheep use the wool for mulch instead of buying wood chips or something like that, so that is one use for it. Those who have large flocks, who are able to sell their wool and actually make money at it, there are still clothing places that use wool for clothing, but most wool today is actually used for making carpet. The sheep is actually being very cooperative. For those of you who raise sheep for the fair, you probably know the difficulty of shearing the sheep for the show, especially when you want them to look nice. That little red spot that you see is a little nick. It's hard to not nick them when they're jumping around and you're trying to nicely trim their wool. So when finished, you're going to end up with a sheep that looks like this. It's a little dark in here, but that sheep was shorn last week and already has wool starting to grow back. It actually grows very fast. I must have scared it. The reason that shearing a sheep is so difficult is because their wool is extremely oily. It is packed with an oil that keeps that wool nice and moist. It helps keep the animal warm in the winter. We actually use that oil for a lot of things. It's found very often in chapstick, in all-natural body lotion, hand cream, because it can help restore dry skin. That's what it does on the animal, and so we have used that for human use as well. So my question for you today is, tell me what the oil in the wool is. What is it called? The oil in a sheep's wool is called what? Send me your answers.